Welcome back to our podcast series on hair loss, the root cause. We're going to be talking today with Dr. Michael Rubin. He is the inventor of the LaserCap, and we are so excited that he's so generous with his time today. And he's here
to
answer all of our questions. You are glowing. I hate that I don't have my hat on today.
I'm glowing and growing. That's my
the glow and grow.
You got it.
So I want to hear your story. I want our listeners to really hear your story when it comes to the development of the technology, because you've developed the first technology that we have really for at-home use of laser therapy.
For sure. Well, I'm first and foremost a hair loss sufferer many years. Age, I think 19 or 20. I'm walking down the street in New York City, and there was a camera store. And I look in the window, and I see on the TV screen someone's top of someone's head. And I said, "Boy, that hair looks a little thin." It was me.
Gosh, and that was age 20.
So one of the shockers is you don't know that you've got hair loss till 50% of the density is gone. And so, if you look at the stat, 80% of men, 50% of women, they're going to lose hair. Right. And, that's a big shocker. You don't know till 50% of the density is gone. Now, the professional can see it a lot sooner. But to the layperson, with the naked eye, you got to lose 50% of that hair shaft diameter before you notice it's gone. So anyway, hair loss sufferer for years, went on to medical school. I figured, hey, if I don't have hair, I better try to make some money. Got to be attractive somehow, right? And so I went on to medical school. And in medical school, I was grinding up my own minoxidil. Rogaine had just come out. I was grinding up my own minoxidil pills, mixing it up with the ethanol, putting that on my head. Anyway, needless to say, hair loss sufferer for years, MD. Along the way, I got an MBA, variety of other things. But I created LaserCap back in 2000. I created the company in 2006, initially to try to deliver topicals more uniformly, a better method. Right. Then the HairMax laser comb, really the pioneers, the HairMax, Lexington International, the HairMax laser comb got a de novo FDA clearance in 2007. Very difficult to do. And I said, wow, what a great concept. Grow your hair with light. What a terrible product.
Right. Terrible delivery. Who's going to comb their hair for that? Yeah, that long.
I said, this is terrible. I mean, I got one. My arm was going to fall off after the first week or two. And so I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I kind of refocused. I recruited Mike Hamblin out of Harvard. He's the world authority on photomedicine. A lot of other applications for photomedicine. But I had him focus with me on hair regrowth. So recruited Hamblin out of Harvard. Dave Smith, an MIT optical physicist, was my chief tech guy. Bob Haber, who's a world-renowned hair surgeon, was my medical guy. And we created LaserCap. Started selling essentially what you see today. This is a 304 diode version, but essentially what you see today is what I originally sold back and started selling it in 2009.
That's awesome. So we implemented a freestanding laser unit in our clinic before I think LaserCap came out, where we would have patients come in once a week to use the light. Phenomenal treatment option, but they have to come into the clinic. So I was really excited when I found you at A4M. I think that was the first time I met you, was at an A4M conference.
And this obsoleted the in-office unit.
Yeah, we still use the in-office for people that aren't ready to make a commitment. And I say, come in, use it for 6 weeks. Make sure it works. Make sure the technology works. And then you're confident that once you purchase that LaserCap, that it's going to be the right tool for you.
And a great way to showcase the technology.
Right. And we also kind of what you said, we use it to drop in medication, like numbing medication, when we're doing our PRP treatments. We found if we let them sit under that light for a few minutes before we do that, their response is way better. So we still use it, but I love that there's an at-home option, because one of the things that we do know about hair loss is it is progressive over time.
Chronic progressive. Treatment is ongoing.
Treatment is ongoing. And it's a technology that they can have at home and use to see result long term. So thank you for your work. We have a LaserCap at our house. I was a hair loss sufferer myself. After childbirth and then after some weight loss, noticed luckily I was born with way too much hair. And so I still was able to maintain. I still have plenty, but thanks to the technology that we have today, I may not be in this position had we not had the technology and had I not started treating it early. So let's talk about DHT. Let's talk about the hormone that causes hair damage to the hair follicle, right? Because that's what happened to you. You probably had DHT on your scalp.
Well, I got testosterone.
At puberty, right?
I got testosterone, and apparently too much. But, I'm a man, I've got testosterone, and testosterone converts to DHT. And in those who are genetically susceptible to the hair loss in that pattern area, I'm one of those 80%. My case a little more severe than others. And so, the DHT is the culprit. Now, there's very good medications, potent medications to block DHT. There's finasteride, there's dutasteride. The finasteride is Propecia. The problem with finasteride and dutasteride with these oral meds for the men is that there's some sex dysfunction side effects in some men. It's very debatable how much, the hair surgeons and the professionals like yourself will say, well, there's very little side effect, but our motivations are selfish, though. We want to grow hair. And, if a patient has a sex dysfunction side effect, well, okay, we'll deal with it, but we're trying to grow hair. But it's a real fear with men. So they don't want to take these DHT blockers.
Right.
And so LaserCap works by a totally different mechanism. So the Propecia, the finasteride, the dutasteride block the conversion of testosterone to DHT. The LaserCap is a totally different mechanism. It stimulates the mitochondria to produce more fuel, revs up a thing called the Krebs cycle, which produces more ATP. So you still have the effects of DHT, but your follicle can function better, even though it's under attack.
So it makes it less sensitive to the damage from DHT.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But ideally, we want our patients on multiple modalities. LaserCap, absolutely. My mantra is Photomed Pharma Food. Photomed Pharma Food. So the Photomed first and foremost, because great safety profile, just essentially no side effects, works well in men and women. Whatever pharma then you can then add to that, whether it's topical minoxidil, the Rogaine.
Right.
I don't like the foam for women. It gets in the hair. Tell them to use the men's liquid. The pharma companies were too lazy to approve the women's liquid at 5%. They wanted to do a foam for whatever reason. But anyway, the minoxidil topical, the oral finasteride for the men, for some women postmenopausal, it causes birth defects, so you can't use it premenopausal. There's oral minoxidil off-label. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do, but first and foremost, LaserCap. And
you had food on that list too.
Well, food is just the supplement. There's the name brands like Nutrafol, Viviscal. You don't have to bust your budget with that stuff, though. I mean, that stuff is all well and good, but there's plenty of generic stuff with similar actives. There's nothing that magical. The research is telling us the Mediterranean diet is kind of the best diet for hair. It's been the most studied diet. We need diversity. We need fiber to bind up some of those hormones. If we can all listen to our functional med doctors and clean up our diet. Are you saying you're not listening? Well, but 90% of the population doesn't. Right, not you're healthy, right. And they've got high stress, and that wreaks havoc on the hair. But certainly, if you can get to the root, no pun intended, the root cause, which are a lot of systemic issues. Yes. Then you can have a much healthier hair. And then you're only dealing with the male and female pattern loss without all the immune issues, nutritional issues, hormonal issues, so on and so forth. So DHT is the number one reason why people have female and male pattern baldness. Right. The light therapy is a great modality for that particular loss. But to your point, there's a lot of other reasons why hair would be shedding. Stress is another one of the major risk factors for hair loss that you may see despite using something like LaserCap, right? You're still losing hair, you're still shedding, right? Because we haven't dealt with the stress aspect. So we have to throw that in there too. So what about modalities like PRP
And do you do any work with Derive, or have you had any experience?
Well, I'm the LaserCap inventor and
Right,
manufacturer. So, but I work with hair surgeons and medical hair folks and trichologists all over the country, all over the world. So I know what everybody's doing. And
right,
PRP certainly has been up and coming. It's evolving. There's various concentrations of PRP.
right,
My sense is you want very high platelet concentration. You want these dual spin kits, and folks have moved on or enhanced that with harvesting stem, because the stem cells, if you can harvest them, if you can, there's some situations where they're actually multiplying them for patients and then re-injecting. Tremendous growth factor boosts with that, and then
right.
exosomes, are kind of
Yes.
the
New kid on the
evolution.
block. Yes.
Yeah, the exosomes that are little vesicles that will carry signals to tell the body, hey, we've got to regenerate. We've got an unhealthy follicle here. Let's make it healthy again. Recruit stem cells. So the exosomes are really up and coming as
Yeah,
well.
we've started using exosomes. It's been a year now, and I'm impressed with what they can do. I think they work on the inflammation cascade a lot better than what I've seen anything else tackle. And so I'm really excited about the results that we're seeing with
And you have to be
Derive.
careful where you're getting the exosomes. There's not a
Yeah,
whole lot of shops that are,
yeah. So we're
producing
using
what you
the
need.
Derive
Good.
plant-based.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent,
yeah. So
excellent.
it's excellent
Well,
quality and
that's really
consistency.
state of the art. I mean, you're really
Yeah,
on the cutting edge then if you're using
right,
stem
right.
plant based, because
So
that's new.
let's
Very few references on the plant based.
Yeah. So, what about the technology that goes into making the laser cap and the frequency of the light? How is it different then? Because now you were the first, right? And now you go online and there are so many options.
Well, there's a lot of. I look at the FDA filings from time to time, and when I registered, I was maybe the Hair Max laser comb was there. There was a guy who used to work for me who knocked me off, hapless, who did a study on my device. He was like the second to get his clearance, and then I got my clearance. I'm just a dumb doctor inventor. So he was a savvy business guy. So there was the tablet, but now there's like 50. There's like
Right.
50 out there, and probably 45 of the 50 are all laser cap copies. So
Okay.
I call them my bastard children. Anyway, but the across the board, they've all dumbed it down. They're all business people. They turned the lights way down. I overdrive the laser. You see, I'm pulsing. I
Yes.
overdrive for high peak power. I have to pulse it, otherwise it would get too warm. These people just don't want to be bothered with. Don't bother me with the medicine, the science, and the engineering.
Right.
Let's just put some
Just
lights
make
in
it
a
look
hat
pretty.
and
Yeah.
sell it to the consumer. So they market primarily, almost exclusively to the consumer. Very few of these devices are in the physician office. Yeah, there's a few here and there, but yeah, just a lot of junk. But it's good marketers. They raise awareness. When patients really do their due diligence, really dig in, they come to LaserCap.
Right.
Yeah,
And you
and
have
those that
several
don't,
models.
right?
Right. You have several models. We use the top of the line in our practice just because it has more coverage area and we tend to treat more
Right.
females. And so
Exactly.
their pattern's a little bit more diffuse,
Sure.
to
Sure.
start anyway. I think for men, it gets diffuse as time goes on. So I still am a fan of the larger cap for
Yeah,
full
that's our
coverage.
biggest seller, the HD Plus with 304 lasers.
Yes.
Originally, it was the HD, which with
Yes.
224 over about 500 square centimeters. I've got the HD Plus on. It's 304 lasers over close to 600 square centimeters, a little larger perimeter, about a 62 centimeter perimeter. Fits my fat head very nicely. Fits women very nicely.
Yeah.
Even though they
It
have
goes
smaller
well
heads, it
for
comes
women.
way down.
Yeah.
We've got a bucket hat. They can cinch up the headband to secure it in case it's too large. So the HD Plus is definitely the preferred, highest energy. The HD was my historic one, which has similar energy, a little lower, a little less coverage. And then we had rolled out the SD with 80 diodes, which is a lower power density, lower energy, a more economical choice for some patients, but very few doctors sell that.
Yeah.
Very few professionals sell that.
So for the people, because photomodulation is kind of the thing now. You can put a light anywhere, right? It's all about the
all over the body. For general health and wellness, there's big infrared beds. Some of them are using a little higher wavelength. There's infrared saunas. There's a lot of research going on in intracranial PBM, photobiomodulation for improved brain health. Right. Tremendous benefits. We target the hair follicle. Folks ask me all the time, hey, can I put it on my face? Can I put it on my knee? Yeah, I mean, with eye safety, just keep the eyes shut tight, wear opaque eyewear. It's good for facial skin rejuvenation. It's good for, for an aching knee, for anti-inflammatory effect. But our indication is our target
for hair. So for people that are buying those other panels, right, the question always comes, will it work on my hair, right?
There's just not enough energy.
Right.
And a lot of those panels are junk. They're for general health and wellness. There's really nothing out there where they're quoting the joules per square centimeter, where they're really giving you the light mathematics, the photon energy mathematics. Nobody does it because they don't want you to know how weak their stuff is. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We have red light in our sauna, and I still can't get them to give me the specification on what it actually is.
They don't even know. I've got an optics lab. I measure everything here. They don't even bother measuring anything. They just repeat whatever the Chinese supplier tells them, which is, if you push comes to shove, it's usually nonsense anyway. Some of the numbers I've seen are just, they don't make sense. And then I measure it and it doesn't even come close to what they're claiming. So.
Right. So application for LaserCap, as far as what we tell patients how to use, right? How often, how much time?
Sure.
What is your general recommendation for someone?
It's been 30 minutes every other day. Okay.
Right.
However, many patients, and I encourage this, many patients use topical. And I encourage that because it's a different modality. Topical minoxidil works by a different mechanism. There's now a lot of telemed companies that are doing topical min-fin, minoxidil finasteride, min-dut, minoxidil dutasteride. There's other topicals. So a very good protocol. We've not studied this, but anecdotally, very good results. Patients every evening can apply topical all over top of the head, then immediately wear a LaserCap. So LaserCap, it's sealed, it's moisture sealed, it's low voltage DC power. It's not an electrical safety issue. And it won't damage, nothing will happen to the cap. But if they do that protocol, topical, then immediately wear a LaserCap. LaserCap provides warmth and occlusion, which increases topical absorption. Yeah, increases topical absorption. And I believe that you do it that way. You don't have to do it twice a day topical. Now, we've not studied this,
right,
but it just stands to reason that if you're getting much better penetration, the thing about twice a day is you get such poor penetration. The skin is such a tremendous barrier to anything trying to get through. Penetration's so poor, they'd like you to bathe in it, soak your head in it all day for some to get through. Right. So, but with that protocol, I think you could do like a once a night topical. Immediately wear a LaserCap, 15 minutes or even 15 to 30, But that's anecdotal. But get good photos of your patients baseline, follow them, see their progress with that protocol, and I think you'll get very good results.
Yeah. So we're using a dermoscope to look at the follicle, and see what's going on and see the consequences of DHT with the miniaturization going on at the follicle site, and be able to see that transition improve.
Well, you're sophisticated practice. A lot of folks, the most they can muster is a gross photo.
Yeah.
And if you do that,
and I think taking the gross photos are important too.
Absolutely.
Right?
But if
they're
you can
important too.
An area and repeat that, that's fantastic.
Yeah. The photos help them see, oh yeah, it is better than I thought it was, right? The microscope pictures help us see as clinicians, like what's really going on here and what are going to be the best tools. Like, do we need something for inflammation? Do we need something for growth? So what would you say to your 20-year-old self if you had the technology you had today, right?
You got to treat early.
It's hard to get 20-year-olds to listen, right? When it comes to their hair.
You've got to treat early. And really it's the women that need to stay on top of it, because it hits them a little later in life, and perimenopausal, and it's more. I think it can be more devastating. Sure, it's devastating for the men, but it's very devastating for the women. At least the men, they've got an option. Oh, I'll just shave my head.
Just shave it off.
I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to bulk up. I'm going to make a lot of money. Shave my head. Yeah, I'll survive. Plenty of bald guys. But with women, it's just devastating.
And what I'll say about women is that I feel like that postmenopausal female, or the hormonal shifting for females with hair loss, that is so treatable. Like, to me, it responds very well. And so I feel like that subset is way easier to treat than the men. I feel like the DHT is not as aggressive. It's there, and it definitely causes thinning. But to your point, I think a lot of times females get dismissed. Until you can see scalp, they're told you're fine. It'll be fine.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, I ask, have you been to the dermatologist?
So they're not taken seriously early enough, I think, to really do some more advanced treatments and walk them through what can help preserve hair long term.
60% of our business are women. 60% of the patients. 60% of the patients. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a very good, LaserCap and the whole medical hair loss management is just it's men have the transplant option. Very few women can transplant. They don't have, unless you've got some focal area, because it's diffuse with
it's so diffuse. Yeah.
Men have options. They shave their head, get a transplant. The women it hits them at a time where perimenopausal. There can be some weight issues. There can be aging. Skin wrinkles, and it's just and then hair on top of that. It's like, oh my God, it's right. So it's very important that we.
Yeah, it's one of the most fun things that I like to treat. I have a full functional practice, but if I can grow some hair, it just makes me really happy to see that coming back and to see their confidence coming back. And know that you've done a really good thing for them. Yeah. You're
tuned in. You are tuned in for sure.
So are there any new products coming for LaserCap for you guys?
Well, I've got research devices that are higher energy. We'd like to see higher energy. We've got the highest energy out there, close to 4 joules per square centimeter. I've got research devices that are much higher. Some of them are more for intracranial, for the brain health.
Right.
But there's some where we can use wavelengths like the red light at 650 nanometer to target hair. So I'd like to hopefully study those in the next, 3 to 5 years, and see if we can, and everybody with LaserCap will be privy to an upgrade. So
okay.
Not a problem.
That is good to know.
Yeah.
So what would be the indication for that?
Well, for higher energy, it's just the same old. I think we can get better hair regrowth results.
Okay.
So with higher joules per square centimeter, I think we can just get better hair regrowth results. So yeah, so we'll eventually, if we roll those products out, then we have upgrade programs now where we've got a lifetime warranty policy on all the LaserCaps. In the first 5 years, no fees. After 5 years, there's some nominal fees. And then anytime patients can upgrade from the manufacturer, like there's a lot of legacy devices out there where they have the HD, and they say, oh, you got an HD plus. And so they get to purchase that from the company where they send in their old one, where we recycle it, and they get the new one for a fraction of the.
Well, that is really good to know.
Yeah, so
I'm thinking about that, and for some of our patients that have had early hair loss and bought the earlier cap, that would be good for them to know that they can trade that in and have better coverage. Good to know. I love that your product is made in the USA. American all the way. And so I love that you have not sold out to foreign companies to manufacture. And I love that the customer service has been so incredible. So I have an older cap myself, and about a year ago, the battery went out. And I called up just as a customer. I didn't call as a provider because I wanted to see what is customer service going to do. And you guys replaced my battery. I think it cost me $100 to replace the battery or something like that. Nothing crazy. And I was like so appreciative of the integrity of your company and the integrity of that customer service. It means a lot for providers that are recommending the product, right? We always want to make sure our patients are getting a good service when they have to call in for an issue. So,
well, you have your patients go to the website, go to LaserCap.com. You educate them, because there's a lot of patients that are sitting on the fence and they want to do their research. Tell them, hey, canvass the internet, but go to LaserCap.com, study up, read the reviews, read the Google reviews. We're spectacular in terms of our in terms of
not only do you have good Google reviews, because I check out your website as I do with all of my vendors, and you've got a lot of great educational information on LaserCap.com. There's blog content there. There's everything you want to know about how the red light works. And so I just commend you for that, keeping that up to date. So anything else you want to put out in the world? Well,
just treat early. Get to your doc, do the research, and I think LaserCap in combination with good medical advice, good diagnostics, good treatment plan, we're going to get results. I mean, we've got a fantastic first year return policy that I'm not sure if you've ever had a return, but really all of our docs participate in this. Any reason, no reason at all, patient can return LaserCap for 75% of the purchase price, unless I've had a rare doc who's opted out of that, where they explicitly tell their patients when they purchase, no, we don't participate in that. But otherwise, across the board, we've got about a 0.1% return rate.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly low. It's a big financial outlay for patients, so they want some reassurance. Right. Yeah. But we have an incredibly low return rate for a couple of reasons. One, essentially all our sales, well, we've got some website sales, but we work with those patients closely too, and they pay top retail price at the website. They always get a better price through the doc.
Right.
But very importantly, the LaserCap works, and two, the professionals, the hair surgeons, the medical hair specialists, the groups like yourself, manage the patient. Good diagnostics, good treatment plan, good follow-up, manage patient expectations.
Right.
And it's very, very happy patients as a result.
So what I would say to our listeners that are struggling with hair loss, if you're making an investment like this for a device to treat hair loss throughout your lifetime, it is a lifetime treatment plan. And it would make sense to invest in something that you have a lifetime warranty on to some degree, so that that if you had a problem, you could always replace.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Am I still glowing?
You're still glowing. You have still got it going on. I just wish I had worn mine today so we could have matched. You're adorable.
The Enhanced Wellness Living podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining professional advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.